Hey you guys, Doug Wingate again. Licensed acupuncturist here to talk about the Eighth Circuit model of consciousness, how it can be integrated into Chinese medicine, and how it can inform Chinese medicine practitioners and acupuncturists, inform their take and treatment approaches to individuals who may have hang-ups, stagnations, and negative imprints that were established within those 8 circuits. So we're going to take a look at the Second Circuit right now, and that stems out of the First Circuit, which was imprinted early on in life, between the ages of newborn to about 3 months, and then the next major transition and point of imprint vulnerability is at about 18 months to 3 years, right around the 2 year mark. And this is where the child begins to form a personal ego. They start to recognize themselves as separate from other individuals, as separate from their environment, and being able to really influence the environment and manipulate it, which is a key factor in the circuit, is being able to do that. And so the imprint is taken around that ego formation, and from that, the individual really imprints their their ability to manipulate reality or manipulate the physical world, but also to establish boundaries with the physical world around them, and boundaries between themselves and other individuals. And so this is called the emotional territorial circuit. They establish their own territory, their personal territory, as well as becoming much more aware of their own emotional states and reactions to things around them. So this is, around 2 years old. It's the terrible two stage. A lot of the time that carries over into the terrible threes. More often than not, a lot of that will start to manifest more fully in the 3 year range, but every kid is a little bit different. And again, these imprints are something that generally play out throughout one's life, unless a fair amount of fair amount of self work is done to recognize these imprints, or to re-imprint, as it were, to change that. So with the territorial aspect, what a person really imprints is their pack status in social situations, and so they tend to establish either a stance of dominance or submission in social situations, and a lot of this initially stems within the family dynamic, and so those who imprint a dominant stance tend to be those that take more initiative and feel like they're able to take on the external environment, take on the world, manipulate it, and kind of bend it to their will. So a lot of the emotional tantrum type situations and a lot of the emotional stuff that goes on during this time period are a means of figuring out how to manipulate not only objects but other people as well. So they'll figure out that by throwing a tantrum or being very emotional, many people will give them what they want, and so that's something that they can learn to exploit, and that informs them on a lot of the way that the world works. Those who imprint a more submissive role, or those who tend to withdraw inward, not feel comfortable, and become those who listen and ultimately end up following orders, or if not following orders, at least passively submitting to those who tend to be more assertive or dominant over a situation. And a lot of this stuff continues to play out into adulthood also. It's certainly very overt in authoritarian situations, and so you know where you sit within the social pack or the social hierarchy, and a lot of that, where you stand in that, is basically imprinted early in life most of the time, and then you just kind of perpetuate that through life, unless, like I said, you do a fair amount of self work. So whereas the first circuit weighed heavily generally on the mother figure, the nurturing figure, this circuit tends to, not always, be more influenced by the father figure, the more authoritarian figure in the family dynamic. And Jenny Wade has, in the holonomic theory of the evolution of consciousness, describes this as the egocentric consciousness, and for good reason. It is very egocentric. The actions are done without much regard for the impact of others, and for a large part because the brain has not really developed a whole lot of empathy. Things and people are things to be manipulated at your will in order to gain more or for your benefit. The portion of the brain, we didn't really discuss the neurodevelopment of the brain in the first circuit, but a lot of the functioning at that level stems out of the brain stem, the base drives, the base needs to survive, and then as the child develops, more neural connections become available in the limbic system, which has control or primarily drives the emotional response of an individual. And so as that comes online, those emotional components become more active. So within Chinese medicine, this can be looked at as both elements of kidney yang, so the active will and drive to get things done in the kidney yang, and the wood element, and so liver and gallbladder components. And so when taking a look at treatment methods, those are things worthy of consideration. Whether it be acupuncture points or herbal remedies that address either the kidney yang, help boost kidney yang if it's deficient, or to move liver qi, gallbladder qi if necessary, tonify liver yin or liver blood sometimes is necessary in deficient cases. And as far as other methods, a lot of activities that really increase circulation, get the adrenals going, get the circulation going. Somebody's very active in using their body in a very direct manner tends to work as well, or at least helps to stimulate our work with some concerns or emotions that come up on the level of the emotional territorial circuit. So as far as the chakra system goes, the connective tissue compartment, that's correlated with this is the lower abdomen, right about the location of the lower dantian. The endocrine gland that's associated with it are the reproductive organs, the gonads, and so with that, a lot of the chakra descriptions to describe sexuality as stemming from this. And at this level, that's true, but it's more of just it's the straight reproductive drive, whereas later on sexuality comes forth in really the fourth circuit, where it's about emotional connection with other individuals. This is really just the base drive to reproduce. So not a whole lot of interpersonal connection there. Sorry about that, a little distraction there. So in the emotional territorial circuit is really the one where people are establishing their own boundaries and what constitutes them, what constitutes others, and how to interact with that at a really base level. And so this is also considered the patriotic circuit. It tends to, the emotion associated with this circuit is anger, which of course also correlates to the wood element. But it's often, if there's a lot of emotional stagnancy, then it can be a manifestation of some work that needs to be done on the second circuit, or may stem out of imprinting at the second circuit, then is manifesting later in life. So if people tend to be very, in general, angry driven, then this would be worth taking a look at. And then this stage of development holds fairly steady until about the age of 7, when the next imprint comes up for the semantic circuit. So that will be the topic of the next video.